Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from Hong Kong at SmartCon 2024 by Chainlink. Joining me for this segment, we have Sergey Nazarov, co-founder of Chainlink, and we are here to discuss how DeFi and TradFi are really becoming integrated for the global financial ecosystem. It is great to see you as always. Thanks for having us in Hong Kong. Welcome back to Trade Talks. How is Chainlink setting the standard to unify DeFi and TradFi into this global online financial system?
So both DeFi and TradFi are fundamentally doing the same transactions. They're just doing them under different names and for different assets, but the transactions all require the same things. They require price data, they require a connection for the transaction to happen among chains. The more advanced transactions require identity. And while all of these things have standards in the traditional financial system, those standards don't exist in the blockchain world. And those standards play an important role in the traditional financial system by basically smoothing out the process of doing a transaction, because you and me can easily agree on a price. You and me can easily transmit the payment and the asset. You and me can easily agree on the identity standard we're going to use to prove who you are and prove who I am. That is a set of solved problems in the TradFi world. In the DeFi world, it isn't solved, and in the TradFi world's transition onto blockchains, it isn't solved. So without those standards, you're really not going to have any meaningful level of transactions between these two groups. And even before Chainlink set the standards for data feeds and price feeds, DeFi was a sub $100 million industry. Once Chainlink created the standard for price data, DeFi grew to an over $200 billion industry, which is, multiples, orders of magnitude increase. So what standards really do is they allow transactions to happen. Chainlink as an ecosystem and as a set of standards has become widely adopted in DeFi, helping it grow from 100 million to over 200 billion. And now we're doing the same thing in the capital markets community. And if the capital markets community and the DeFi Web3 community are on the same standard for price, for transmission of value, for identity information, then they can seamlessly transact with each other. That's the next stage of the development of the Chainlink standard and the blockchain ecosystem, is the seamless transaction between a DeFi protocol like Aave and a large TradFi institution's user base, which benefits the TradFi user base because they get access to innovative new financial products, and it benefits Aave and the Web3 community because this big universe of value from the TradFi world can now use their applications. And so really in DeFi and TradFi are really not that far from each other. They're fundamentally seeking to do the same transactions. They're just doing them in different forms in different places. And once they're on the same standard to do the transactions among each other, everyone will benefit and the whole industry will grow.
What advancements does the Chainlink runtime environment known as CRE, what is that bringing to the blockchain ecosystem?
So in the history of financial technology evolution, you have COBOL, which was the first runtime environment that simplified how to build the first banking applications. This is before the internet. This is in the 70s when there was no internet. All you had was databases and basic mainframes in the basement, huge room-based type computers. COBOL was the technology that unified all of those different technologies into an application. Then you had the Java runtime environment that unified various new database technologies and the internet technologies into basically online banking. And now you have a new set of technologies which are blockchains and smart contracts and Oracle networks, which also need to be unified into a single application. So the Chainlink runtime environment does a similar thing to what COBOL did in the 70s and the Java runtime environment did in the 90s, when new technologies emerged that were very difficult to compose into a single application. COBOL simplified that in the 70s with mainframes and basic databases. The Java runtime simplified it in the 90s with the appearance of the internet. And now with the appearance of blockchains and smart contracts and the transition of the financial industry to those technologies, you need a technology to simplify that transition. And that technology is the Chainlink runtime environment that will basically allow you to compose a single application out of multiple blockchains, multiple Oracle networks, multiple data sources, multiple payment systems. It's just within this pattern of how advanced financial applications are made when a new set of technologies emerges.
So this is going to help to facilitate new financial products in the global capital markets.
Yeah, it's massively going to help. We've been helping institutions and Web3 teams build very advanced financial products for over 5 years now. And so we have a lot of experience about what their needs are and what they need to build those advanced financial products. And a financial product that would have taken months or weeks in the old way of building that financial product on chain, with the CRE will take days or hours, which is the same type of improvement that COBOL created in the 70s for using mainframes and databases to make financial products, and the same order of magnitude improvement that the Java runtime created in the 90s for databases and the web world. So yeah, the CRE is already able to take really complex operations, whether it's related to the Swift network or data sources or both of them, and in a small amount of engineering effort, in a few lines of code, compose that into a single application, rather than have to spend weeks interconnecting all that with various pieces of code and tools that isn't built to do that.
Right.
So it's really a kind of total shift in how applications are built across blockchains in an extremely more efficient way, which is one of the big unlocks that's necessary for blockchain's adoption. Mm-hmm. And then the great advantage that the Chainlink ecosystem has is it already has all the services in the form of the Oracle networks, the data networks, the payment system integrations, the blockchain integrations through CCIP. So the other thing that's usually necessary is what are called libraries or services, which the Chainlink network has been successfully building for years and has the largest collection of. So now we're taking those libraries and services, putting them together with this runtime environment and making them easy to use together with all the blockchains.
Right. You had mentioned data before. What are some of the challenges that TradFi faces when it comes to unstructured data, and what types of solutions is Chainlink providing to help them address those challenges?
So unstructured data is information that isn't machine readable. Generally, non-machine readable information can't be used by computers. It can't be used to automate transactions. It requires people. People have to read the information and decide what it means. AI is very good at taking unstructured information and turning it into structured by reading it instead of a person and turning it into like authoritative results. One of the issues with AI is that there's hallucinations and there's errors sometimes. And so what we did recently was we ran multiple AI models at the same time in parallel within a Chainlink Oracle network to create consensus, to create agreement among the different AI models and create a more authoritative result from that agreement, basically creating more reliable structured data.
Right.
So this innovation is useful for the financial industry because unstructured data related errors and the process of turning unstructured data into structured data is very costly.
Right.
The errors and the processes to do that cost hundreds of billions. And while AI is going to do a lot to turn a lot of unstructured data into structured, we have a better way to apply that AI to make their results more reliable.
Right, but tell me about smart data and smart asset products, and what's that impact going to be on real world assets?
So Chainlink is the leader in providing market data, proof of reserves, now NAV data, so many different categories of data. What smart data is an entire category of data that is expanding what Chainlink can provide, basically. So there's a category of asset life that's called asset servicing, and it requires all kinds of data. NAV data, AUM data, basically data that allows the asset to comply, meet accounting requirements, meet legal requirements, in order for it to come into existence at all. Chainlink has a long history of providing the data that allows an asset to come into existence on the blockchain. This is really what it did with DeFi by providing the first reliable price data on chain. And now smart data is expanding that to basically many more categories of data that will allow the more regulated and financial industry, traditional TradFi financial products to also come on chain.
Right. So I want to talk about privacy and security. You have access to so much data, and data begets more data. What are the latest privacy tool in Chainlink's product lineup, and what are they doing to strengthen data security?
So the traditional financial world is used to having privacy. And what you're asking them to do when you talk about the blockchain industry is to take their transactions and to take their information about those transactions and utilize them in effectively a more public system. This presents a fundamental problem and friction where you're asking people that have various privacy requirements for legal reasons, for economic reasons, to forego that privacy and use a new system of transaction that creates a lack of privacy. This is the fundamental problem. So what we've done as soon as last week is release something called the Blockchain Privacy Manager, and also apply that to CCIP, our cross-chain system, to create CCIP private transactions. Both of these things together are the beginning of some of the tools and services we're starting to offer the capital markets. Also here at SmartCon, we're releasing something called DECO, which is a special zero knowledge proof based tool to turn any data from any API into a private piece of data that proves the data's status, but keeps it off-chain, but proves that it is in a certain state.
Right.
So basically, we've developed a number of tools for the TradFi community, like the Privacy Manager and CCIP private transactions. And here at the conference, we're launching a more general tool for the DeFi and Web3 community, as well as the TradFi community, to prove any piece of data from any API while keeping it private. One good example that I'm very excited about there with DECO is identity.
Right.
So let's say you want to prove the identity of who you're doing a transaction with, and you need to do that for legal reasons to comply with, AML, KYC, all kinds of regulations. Before, you couldn't put that information on chain because it would violate various privacy laws. Now you can put that information on chain because what you're putting on chain is a zero knowledge proof, proving that that identity meets requirements.
Okay.
This identity is in an acceptable country, of an acceptable age, with an acceptable amount of money in their account to do this transaction. That is a huge leap forward in what you can prove and the data that you can use on chain from an identity point of view. So I think identity will be one of the first really big use cases of DECO, and we're already seeing a lot of interest and adoption of it for that purpose.
Yeah, and tell us about some of the key innovations of the new CCIP upgrade.
So CCIP has a number of upgrades that have happened. There's self-service tokens. That's particularly useful for the Web3 and DeFi community so they can launch their own bridges more efficiently and more quickly on more chains. There's the attestation system, which allows the token creator to take part in the security of their token by running a parallel service that guarantees that they are seeing and managing the security of the transactions related to their token. And then there's also CCIP private transactions, which creates the privacy necessary for institutions to transact. And there we've already announced one of the early users, ANZ, a trillion asset under management bank, that here publicly at the event had their product lead for digital assets talk about how the privacy created by CCIP private transactions allows them to go to the next stage of blockchain usage, because without that privacy, they wouldn't be able to do the transaction.
Yeah.
So it's both a mix of Web3 DeFi tools that are reusable by the capital markets, and it's a set of capital markets tools that are going to get more and more capital markets value on chain, and therefore grow the whole industry.
Yeah, it really is quite incredible to see how this has evolved. Appreciate the insight
Thank
as
you.
always, Sergey. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. And thanks for joining me from SmartCon 2024. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you.